Hello, 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 everybody. Happy Sunday. Hopefully, all is well. Sorry for the delay in getting started this afternoon. I wasn't exactly feeling the greatest. But we're in good shape. So, it's making sure the connections look good. Looks like we are live. All that good stuff. Good. Cool. Okay, so I'm starting to get some analytics back. Awesome. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Why is my... This is weird. Like, my green screen is acting weird. What's going on, everybody? How goes it? Hope everybody's doing well on Sunday. I notice there's a little bit of a delay. There's a little too much. Let me change this up a little. Make a quick adjustment real quick. Let me turn this light on and another light off. See if that helps with the flicker. Oh, now my green screen's acting up. I can't win today. That's okay though. Well, I appreciate that, Eduardo. It's good stuff. I'm trying, man. I am trying. Let me adjust something real quick. There we go. Hopefully that'll fix that problem. There we go. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for stopping by and hanging out with me this afternoon. We have some cool stuff planned. I'm going to be going through and doing a quick little lab on Eve NG. It's one of the most common things that I get questions about regarding how to work with it and, build labs and things like that. So we're going to be taking a look at how all that stuff comes into play. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So we're going to go and I'm going to deploy Eve, and I'm going to go through the process of getting it all set up and show you guys how to work with some of the documentation with it, because it seems like one of the most common questions I get is what are you using, how do you use it, and it's definitely a strong replacement for GNS3. I don't like using GNS3 anymore. I have been with Eve now for a long time. So, cool. If you guys have any questions at any point in time, go ahead and drop it into the chat. Hello, hello, hello. I will do my best to answer those questions as they come in and stuff like that, and we will get to it. So, if you have not already done so, you'll need to download Eve. Now I've already got it downloaded and saved, but I'll show you where to basically go. I'm going to go ahead and flip over to the green screen. So if you don't know where to go, you would come in here and do eve-ng.net and go here. There we go. And when you're on this website, let me go ahead and I have to adjust bring this over just a touch so I can see the chat. Does Eve support L3 switches? Yes, it does. And I'll talk a little bit about how that process comes into play here in just a minute. So when it comes down to working with Eve specifically, you're going to need to download it. So you would go to the website, go to download, and then you have a couple of different options. You have the option of downloading the pro version, which means you need to buy a license. The other is the community version, which is what I personally run. What would be the best hardware? It depends on what you want to run. In your security lab, anything with an Intel Xeon processor with, I don't know, 6-core or an 8-core processor. If you get 2 of them, that'll be more than sufficient for just about anything you can need, and then 64 gigs of RAM. So I use the free version of Eve. You can download it from whatever if you want to download from the Google Mirror or the installation ISO, I prefer the OVF, which is basically the virtual machine. Now, I've already got it downloaded, but the other thing you're going to want to do is look at the documentation. Documentation is going to be big when it comes to getting the platform online and working and all that type of stuff. There's a lot of how-tos. They've added Knox in here. That's kind of cool. So we're going to go to how-tos here. And if you wanted to get a particular OS working, this is how you would do that. Now, speaking towards the operating systems that you'll work with and stuff like that, you'll need to have access to the images already. So, in other words, you want to go over here to, say, viral.cisco.com, and that will redirect you to the Cisco Learning Network, where you'll be able to purchase the access that you need. It's $200. So you buy this $200 license, and after you've purchased access to it, you will be able to download all of the images that you'll need in order to run inside of Eve. So this will give you ASA, this will give you iOS VL2, so your layer 2 image that supports layer 3 switching. It'll give you your iOS router, it'll give you the CSR 1000V, the Nexus 9K, the XRV 9K. It gives you a bunch of different stuff. What it doesn't give you is the Viptela images. So if you're interested in running SD-WAN in Eve, you will need to have access through a service account in order to do that. So unfortunately, it doesn't support. You can't purchase access through Viral to get, or CML, Cisco Modeling Labs, to do that. So just keep those things in mind when you're doing your research. So that's basically where that comes into play. So you buy the license, download the images that you need, and you'll be in good shape. Novice on routing. Why run BGP and OSP at the same time? I don't know what you mean. Is there a specific use case you're talking about? I mean, I could, if you have a specific use case, you'll have to explain what you mean. But in order to, if you're going to run iBGP, so BGP internally inside of your network, then you'll need OSPF or some other IGP, EIGRP, RIP, or whatever it might be, in order to allow internal BGP to work effectively. So, oh, you must be talking about the SD-WAN stuff. So, it was more to, so if you're referring to doing OSPF and then running internal BGP with route reflector, I did that to demonstrate that you could do it with SD-WAN. Not saying that it's the goal of the videos was to demonstrate the capability and the option of doing that. It's up to you to make the determination of which way you go. You know, I'm just showing you what's possible and how you would work with it and stuff like that. I'm not saying that, you know, you would run, if you're going to run internal BGP, you would need an IGP like OSPF. And because OSPF is supported on the V edges, that's what I ran with. You could do any other protocol you want. But if you're looking to just run it as, if you've got a large scale deployment and you want it to peer with, maybe you've got VXLAN running on your Nexus 9Ks and you need to peer via BGP from the leaf switches up to your V edges. BGP would be the more appropriate protocol to use then. So, what's up, Zig? My buddy Zig's in here. That's awesome. Glad to see you, Zig. So OSPF probably in private networks. Well, so since you're a novice in routing, you can run OSPF and BGP in both, right? So it's one of those things where one thing that I would definitely recommend you do is you have to you'll have to level up your routing, because right now you're asking a lot of CCNA level questions, and I can definitely see where you're those questions are coming into play. So you need to really you just need to buck up on the OSPF and the BGP understanding, and a lot of the things that I'm talking about in those videos will definitely make more sense. Because the purpose of the SD-WAN videos where I showed you how to run OSPF and I showed you how to run BGP was so that you would know how to do both. But the goal wasn't to say, this is the use case that I'm running with and this is why we're going to be doing this particular protocol. The purpose of the video was to demonstrate that you could. You know, how you use them in production or in your proof of concept lab, that's completely up to you. So just the more or less, this is what's possible and this is how you would do it. You make the determination of which way you go. But you don't have to. BGP is commonly used on the service provider side of the world. If you're going to have a MPLS service that you're going to peer to, then you can totally use MPLS or BGP from your MPLS router to peer with the service provider, or you can use BGP to peer with the internet. So it's up to you and how you want to go about doing it. But BGP isn't specific to the public side. You can use BGP throughout your entire network if you want to. I have multiple times where I've ran DMBPN over the internet and over MPLS because it makes more sense to do that, and we've used BGP over both. So it's completely possible to do. It's just you have to get down to brass tacks of how each protocol works and how to integrate them and stuff like that. But you really need to spend some time in those areas, because if you don't understand OSPF and BGP to the level that you need to, then some of the things that I talk about won't make a lot of sense. But as Zig mentioned there, you definitely need to understand how the protocols work independently and then how you can overlap them and then build your environment out as you go along. So for example, when I was studying for my CCIE, it took a long time for me to understand how everything glued themselves together. But once I understood all that, it was like, oh yeah, and then you start tearing stuff together and you've got like multiple layers, and it gets a little complicated, but the more time you spend in it, then you understand all the independent layers and how the layer cake comes together. It's like a 7-layer taco. You know, it can get complicated, but the point is, once you spent your time in the routing protocols, you'll be that much better off down the road. So, but yeah, good stuff, man. Cool. So I'm gonna go ahead. Like I mentioned, I've already got Eve downloaded, and I'm gonna go ahead and walk you guys through how to get it up and running and stuff like that. I was thinking more along the lines of trying to mimic a public connection. Well, I mean, you can do that with BGP, but going back to what I just mentioned a moment ago, you still have to understand, like, if you want to give me a specific use case, I can give you specific responses. But right now, I'm gonna talk in generalities because you're talking in generalities. I can't answer a specific question, give you specific details on a generally stated question. If you give me a specific use case, I'll give you a specific answer. Let's go with that way, because I'll end up talking in circles. So we're going to go ahead and register a VM. So we're going to actually go through the deploy process here. Yeah, I'm gonna let Zig help me out a little bit on this, because Zig's also a CCIE, and actually Zig got his CCIE before I did, and he was in the study group, and he was one of the core people that helped me pass my CCIE. Well, if you have questions, man, that's why we're on a live stream. I'll do my best to answer the questions, and since I've got Zig here, I'll let him, maybe answer some of those too, maybe give a different perspective from the design side of it. But if I can answer the question, I will. But we'll figure it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the file. I'm gonna go ahead and say Eve, and we'll just do test, and then we'll go ahead and grab this election. So I've actually already opened it up, so I'm just gonna go ahead and select it and click on open, and we're gonna go ahead and click on next, and I'm gonna choose the data store it's gonna sit on. It's gonna be my QNAP storage array, and click on next, and then we're going to choose where it's going to go sit. I'm going to say it is going to sit in VM network, because I'm going to want to connect to it and be able to work with it that way. I'm going to do a thin provision disk and click on finish. So this will take a couple of seconds to go ahead and get deployed. You can see that down here in the lower right hand corner, it's in the process of being rolled out. So after a couple minutes, we'll see Eve test, and we'll be able to get that guy squared away. So good stuff. All right, that'll take a couple of minutes to get rolled out because it is such a large file. But other than that, hopefully everybody's doing well. Take a look at the quick chat real quick. Everything looks good. Well, I really appreciate the. Was that a lot? Oh, somebody just. I don't know. Was that a lot? Was that a super chat? I think I got my first super chat ever. Cool, man. Hey, I appreciate that. Really appreciate that, Glenn. Good seeing you on here, man. All right, cool. So yeah, we're good to go there. This will take a few minutes. All right. Cool. So we're now live with this guy. He's going to start booting up. This will take some time, but once we get started, we'll be okay. So this takes about 10 minutes or so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a short break. I'm going to let this roll for a few minutes while it goes through the install process, and I will be right back. I don't know if I can pause this, but I'll be right back. All right. Well, sorry for running away from you guys, but good stuff. Hey, I appreciate it, Glenn. I really do, man. Cool. So this does take a while. I don't know on average how long. Sometimes it takes 10 minutes or so. That's why it's like, well, hurry up and wait. So, I guess how is oh, here we go. Finally. Okay. How is everybody else doing? Okay. Now, actually pretty good timing on my part. Okay. So, Glenn, you'll have to explain to me what an apiary is. I've never heard of that. Can you help me out with that one? I'm curiosity on that. So now that we're at the EveNG login, we're going to go ahead and type in root, and then Eve is the password, and then we're brought into this right here. So next thing we need to go do is type in the password. I'm gonna, because it's in a private network and I'm not terribly concerned with security in this particular setup. Now, if you were working with this elsewhere, obviously you want to beef up the security. So I just type in Eve as the password and then type it in again. So it's something very, very simple. I'm going to go ahead and EveNG is good for a host name. DNS name is good for that. I'm going to go down here to static IP, hit the space bar to select that, and hit the OK in order to go through that process. And then the IP address that I'm going to use for management. So what I do is I like to grab an IP address from my home network that isn't in use. So I'm going to grab, say, let's say 30. Can I ping 1055.1.30? And that is not responding. So that's a real easy one to go through and leverage. So I'm going to go ahead back over here in 10.255.1.30 and click on OK. Been a fan of you and Brian. I think you meant McGann from INE. Hey man, I really appreciate that. I really do. It means a lot when you guys jump on here and hang out. We're going to go ahead and give this a /24 subnet mask. So 24 bits in the subnet mask, and the default gateway is going to be 10.255.1.1. And do I have an IP address for the DNS server? I actually do. I'm going to use Google. And I don't have a secondary DNS server. Hit OK. No NTP here, and we are directly connected to the internet. And we're going to go ahead and it's going to reboot Eve. It'll come back up pretty quick. It won't take as much time to install. So we'll be good to go there. So good stuff. All right. Once it boots up, we'll be able to actually web UI into it and all that good stuff. But we have to wait for that to boot up. The cool thing about this is once you've been through it, it's actually pretty easy to work with it as you're going forward. So now that we have it booted up and we're in really good shape, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plus on this guy here, and I'm going to do 10.255.1.30, and then we should be redirected to the Eve UI. So we're on the Eve UI. I'm going to type in admin and Eve, sign in, and voila, we have an Eve instance running, right? I mean, how cool is that? All right, so the next thing for us to go do is to dive into getting some images uploaded to it and working with the file system. So there's two things that I recommend we do. The first of which is going to be open up FileZilla, and I'm going to open up FileZilla and I'm going to show you how basically what I've built over the period of, I'll say, you know, a year or so. I've downloaded a lot of different images and stuff like that. I've built a pretty robust library of QCount images that I can use with inside of Eve, where it's just basically drag a file, drag a folder of files from my server up to my Eve instance, and boom, I'm up and running in a couple of minutes. Now, that doesn't always work for everybody. So I'm going to recommend we go back to the documentation. And the reason why the documentation is such a big deal is because there's a number of things that you can get running inside of Eve that you need to spend a fair amount of time going through the documentation. And I'll be honest with you, they're not always easy. So, for example, if you're going to be using the images for, where are they at? VIOS from Viral, for example. And you want to log in here and work with these guys. You can go through Mr. Bomble's videos on how to install Eve, which we're doing right now. So hopefully this will take care of kill two birds with one stone. But you're also going to have to go through and work with the documentation here. And basically, apiary is a beekeeper's farm. Yeah, I will. I'm pretty sure you and I are connected on LinkedIn. I'll DM you some information. Man, I really appreciate that. I really do. But when you're in it, in order to navigate through all of the directories and the file system inside of the Linux server, you actually have to connect to the Linux server. How do you do that? You open up PuTTY and you come in here 10.255.1.30, port 22, you SSH in, you get your little security alert to accept the fingerprint, and then here we are. We're going to type in root and Eve. Bam! We're on the CLI of our Eve server, which is what we want to have. The next thing we get to go do is we can go through and navigate to where we've got to go. Now, the thing with this is, right now, there hasn't been any images uploaded to it, right? There's nothing uploaded. So that's the second thing we need to go do. So I'm going to go ahead and open up FileZilla. And FileZilla is right here. So we will SFTP and get that up and running. Yes, the broadcast is saved. It is network DVR'd. So yes, it is saved. You'll be able to watch the replay at a certain point in the future, probably within a couple of hours of this guy going live. Okay, so can I minimize this? No, I can't. Sorry, I'm checking something out before I show you my entire home lab. Bring this down. There we go. All right, so here I have, let me actually go into the directory. Cool, that's better. All right, so here we are. So in the directory, I have FileZilla. Let me go ahead and get it out of the way. I have FileZilla pulled up, right? And I have a bunch of images that I've downloaded and been able to gain access to. And a lot of this stuff is stuff that I've gotten through a variety of different methods. Most of it's been, talk to the vendor or work with the customer that's got it running. And I get the images through service accounts and service contracts and stuff like that. So, or I go through, like, if they have the option to pay for the access, I go through that way as well. So what we end up doing is on here, I have obviously a bunch of Cisco images downloaded because I have pretty wide access to Cisco accounts. So I've got a bunch of stuff in here that I can work with. So the cool thing about it is it gives me a lot of leeway in terms of what I can play with, right? So this basically makes Eve extremely powerful for someone like myself to use and to learn from. So actually lately, I don't know if you guys have been following how closely everyone's been following me, but I've actually pirouetted out of the Cisco world for a little bit, and I've actually been focusing on Microsoft Server and VMware, because those are two areas that I wanted to learn, and yes, they did. I definitely will give you, I'll definitely agree with you on that when it comes to doing what they've done with the Eve instance and stuff like that. Yeah, I've definitely, kudos to UD and I forget the other gentleman's name that run, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But Elaine, I think it might, or maybe I'm saying that wrong, but I know who you're referring to. But yes, I agree. So if we wanted to build a simple lab, like let's say for instance we wanted to build a couple of routers, a couple of switches, maybe a firewall, how would we do that? Well, fortunately for me, I have the instances. Let's build a lab that somebody would maybe need in order to start doing some basic routing, basic switching, some basic ASA firewall. So I'm going to come down here to the iOS router portion here, and I'm going to grab this guy right here. Now, before I can do anything with it, I've actually got to connect into the server. So I'm going to come up here to 10.255.1.30. The username is going to be root, and the password is going to be Eve, and I'm going to SSH into it. So it's going to be a secure FTP or an SFTP connection. Click on connect, and then I'm logged in. And as you can see over here, if I click on the question mark, I come down here. I'm going to have to navigate to the OPT. Then I'm going to come down to Unit Lab, then Add-ons, then QEMU, right? And at this point in time, I have nothing in QEMU. So if I was to come over here and do the same thing, just copy and paste this file path right here, go CD, and then paste this guy in, and type in ls to list what I've got, you'll see that there's nothing here, right? So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and upload some images to this. So let me go ahead and jump out of the way. I'm going to grab this router right here. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it over. So I'm just going to grab this guy and hover over this, and it's going to go ahead and upload there. So I have my first transfer finished. So if I hit ls, now I'll have something in there, right? I'm going to do the same thing for the switch. So the switch is right here. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing there. Copy it to QEMU. It's going to go ahead and upload, and we're good to go there. So now if I go back over here, ls, bam, now I have 2 images uploaded. I'm going to go scroll to the ASA, because I'm going to throw an ASA in here. I'll grab ASA V991, and I'll do the same thing. I'll just copy, just drag and drop over. You could do more or do it in other methods or whatever, but this is probably one of the easiest ways to do it. So we're good to go there. The next thing for us to go do would be come back over here and do an ls, and there we have more. We have it all added up. Now, if you go out and you download this stuff from Cisco's website through like CML, and you've got everything downloaded, and you're like, okay, well, how do I get this stuff to work? You're going to need to follow the documentation in each one of these. So you'd want to go, for example, back onto our putty session here, and you'd want to navigate to the individual files. So what I recommend you do, no, I do not want to. Oh, bugger, I hit the wrong button. 1 second, please, while I get logged back in. What's up, Norman from Bermuda? That's awesome, man. Thanks for joining. We're going to come over here, port 22 SSH. I'm going to go ahead and log back in real quick because I was a dork and closed it out. And we're going to type in cd opt/unetlab add-ons QEMU, and then we're doing ls, and I have my files that I've uploaded. So the thing that you would want to do when you're going through this is you can literally just copy and paste these in right here. You can just copy this and then paste it into your putty terminal, and that will allow you to get everything squared away that you need to in order to get to create the directory and in the right area and stuff like that. So let's see. What's Eve? Take it easy, Glenn. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me, man. Eve is a hopefully you're familiar with GNS3 or Packet Tracer. It's an emulation software. Essentially, it allows you to take virtual devices and run them in a single workspace and work with them and learn the technologies. That's basically what it's done. It stands for the Emulated Virtual Environment. I was just scroll up to the top here. Maybe it says it here, but that's basically essentially what it is. It's a replacement for GNS3 for someone like myself. So yeah, good stuff. So I would recommend when you've downloaded your images from Cisco or wherever you've gotten them from, follow the documentation for all the things that are here, and this will get you up and running. So for example, if you downloaded the iOS routers from Cisco's website, from CML for example, you would have to go through all these steps where you'd have to basically convert the VMDK to a QCOW2 file right here. That's what you're doing, is converting the file right there. And then you're going to rename VIOS Advanced Enterprise K9 blah 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 .bmdk to virtioa.qcow2. So in other words, you're going to be renaming the file to something that Eve can actually understand and go through all of that stuff, and then it'll make it usable from the Eve side. So that's basically what's happening there. So that's basically what you want to do. And if you do that as you're going along, it makes it really, really easy to work with in terms of getting everything up and running. And the cool thing is once you've got that built, for example, once you've got all those things in place, I actually will take anything that I've built inside of Eve and in the directories, and I'll actually just download it back to my server, and I've got a bunch of images that I've gotten built out. So if you're ever wondering why I've got so many cool looking labs on YouTube, this is why. Because I spent a bunch of time building them all out, and I'm like, well, that took a long time to get up and running, so let's go ahead and just copy all that back down so that I can just, get it up and running really, really quick. So, good stuff there. So we have all of our images uploaded at this point. Well, somebody tried to say something, but that's okay. I'll let you post when you're comfortable with posting whatever it is you're going to post. So that's basically how you would work with the images and stuff like that. If you follow the documentation line by line, I have had really, really good success getting things up and running and rolled out. So now if I go back to my main menu here of Eve, so I haven't actually gone in and created a lab. If you go to here and you click on Add New Lab, we're just going to call this Test Lab. Something very simple, right? Click on Save, and then that's going to bring us into our workspace. Wanted to know how your experience has been running Firepower devices in Eve. For this FMC specifically, it seems a bit, even with the proper hardware. Okay, great question. So when it comes down to running the FMC specifically, I don't run that inside of Eve. I actually run, my voice is a little low. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. When you've got the FMC, I always run it as a virtual machine inside of ESXi, and then I set up a connection from Eve to the outside world. And then I manage the FTD and the IPS devices. I only deploy those inside of Eve. I don't run FMC inside of Eve because I also have noticed that it's slow inside of, because it's like one too many layers of virtualization. So it seems like it works better when you just have it as a dedicated device. I've been running. Yeah, I mean that's a good thing to start off with, is learning BGP that way. I definitely think it's a good start for you to go with, Tom, for sure. Cool. So what I'm going to do is now that I've got my images uploaded to Eve, I'm going to go in here and click on Node, and you'll notice that ASAV and then the router and switches here are they're highlighted in blue, meaning that I can actually work with them. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the router real quick. I'm going to rename this to be iOS, and I'm going to drag out, we'll say we drag out 4, okay? We drag out 4, and I'm going to go ahead and do 2 switches. And I'm going to go ahead and call this SW, and I'm going to go 2 of them and click on Save. Eve and a PC. I am running Eve on a server. It's a virtual machine running inside of ESXi. Right there. But it really doesn't matter. I've actually ran Eve inside a VMware workstation on a server, or a really beefy PC. If you have the means to do it in a PC, you can do it there too. It's up to you on how you want to do that. So now that I've got my switches set up, I can go through and do some connectivity to my firewalls. So let's go ahead and pull out a couple of ASAs, and we'll grab 2 ASAVs and save that. Cool. So now I've got my routers and my switches. So I'm going to go ahead and start organizing them however I see fit. And you can play around with this. There's no wrong way to do a lab. It's, the beautiful thing is you can play around with it and see what you need to do in order to get stuff working and stuff like that. So it's up to you and what you want to go do. So I'm going to go something like that. So what I'll do is I'll run a connection from here to here and click on save, because that's going to build that connection. And then I'll do one from here to here. Save. And then I'm going to drag a line down between these two, click on save. And then I will grab connection to here and save it. And let me go ahead and get out of the way so you guys can see things a little bit better. And then come down here, save that. And then I'm going to go to here and click on save there. And oops, do something like that. So you can do a lot with what I just did. And then you can go through and, let me go ahead and add a couple more routers on the opposite side of the ASAs. So iOS, and then we'll grab 2 of them. And something like this. Can we have servers in Eve? Yes, you can, 100%. If you want to run servers in Eve, I would recommend you download the evaluation copies for Windows 10 or Windows Server 2016, and then you can go through the documentation right here. So if you want to run a Windows PC, run your Windows PC. This is the documentation you would use in order to get that running. And if you want to run a Windows server, you can follow this documentation. That'll get a server running inside of Eve as well. So both will work. So and now what we would do is we would come up with some sort of IP addressing format or structure and go from there. So then, I don't know, maybe I use 10 nets everywhere, for example. Maybe I use, you can use whatever you want, really. It's up to you and how you want to proceed with that. But for example, if I wanted to have this firewall, this ASA acting as a internet connection and the router here acting as a as a telnet server just to test connectivity through the devices, I could do that. This is where you have to come up with some sort of, you have to use your imagination a little bit. You have to really understand how the protocols work, and the cool thing is there's no wrong way to approach this, right? You can build the labs however you see fit. Sometimes you might have to play around with stuff because you may not realize that something might not work a certain way or what have you. But at the end of the day, the idea is to construct your labs in such a way that you're understanding, that you're mimicking what other people are doing. So, that's why I have no control over if you guys copy the labs off the YouTube videos. I encourage that. Build your own labs. Because for those of you that work in engineering jobs day in and day out like I do, I have to build labs in order to learn the technologies. I must have built the SD-WAN topology a dozen times because I would watch, I would read through the documentation. The documentation would say one thing, and I'd watch a YouTube video on somebody's setup and it would be a little bit different. So I try to take as many resources as I could and determine, okay, what's going to be a good lab for this to test out. And then I would build something and then I would try to get something to work and it would fail. I do some research to figure out, okay, why is it failing? And like, okay, what do I need to add? What do I need to take away? And it's trial and error. I mean, I don't get the topology right the very first time when I do stuff. I have to play around with it a number of times in order for it to work. And sometimes it's, on the second or third time I get it. Or sometimes I've had to go rebuild the topology a dozen times. The cool thing about it is the more times you go through it and the more time and effort you put into it, the much better of an understanding you get. So for example, if I wanted to do high availability on these ASAs, to do active standby failover, now I can. Right? I have a link between the two, or if I wanted to do active standby, or I'm sorry, active standby, no, there's no such thing as active standby. I could do that, right? I could easily deploy active standby communication and have the failover work if I wanted to. So it gives me a lot of flexibility in terms of what I wanted to accomplish. So as long as the software supports the capability, and you can look up the documentation or watch a YouTube video or look at somebody's content and, you know, mimic what they're doing, that's the bigger win, right? So that's basically how you would do that. So let me go ahead and pull up, let me go grab Secure CRT here real quick, and let's go ahead and power some of these guys on. So I'm going to grab iOS 1 here. I'm going to power him on, and I can see that he's going to start booting up. Now this will take some time because the server was down for a while, and it's going to take some time for it to boot up. Can you show us how to bring in a VM already on the server? So a VM external to Eve. Oh, yeah, so I know what you mean. So for example, if I wanted to manage the ASA here from the outside, I would come in here and do a network. Click on the network, and then in the type where it says bridge, select management cloud 0 from there, and just rename that to be management, and click save, and then you can drag this down to the management 0 interface. So click the little drop down here and go to management 0, click on save, and that will give me an outside connection. That's what I do. So whether you connect this link to a switch or connect that thing to something else, it's up to you and how you want to do that. What is your test environment? Oh, what do I have on this box? This is an older server too. I have, this is an IBM 3650 M2. I've got, what does this thing have? Is it is it quad core? 2 quad core CPUs, I think. And then I've got 128 gigs of RAM. All of my servers except for one have 128 gigs of RAM. This one's got 4 CPUs. I think it's a quad core, 2 quad core CPUs. Let's see, where's my other server? This server right here is another one. This guy here is, this is a UCSC 220 M3. This is 2 6-core CPUs, 128 gigs of RAM. This gives me 24 gigahertz of compute. I have a hard time making this thing sweat. And then my other one is, I have another C220 M3, and it's got 2 8-core CPUs. Go bring this guy up real quick. Let me minimize this. This guy's got, it's a 8-core CPU, 2 of them, which gives me 32 logical processors, and then 256 gigs of RAM is what this guy's got. That's my virtual labs, essentially. And I've got Windows Server 2016 installed on this guy, and I run VMware Workstation, so I can do a bunch of Microsoft labs. As you can see right here, I've got like a domain controller deployed, so I'm learning, basically going down the Windows Server path at the moment. Pretty cool stuff. So let me go ahead and minimize that one. Go back over to here. So let me go ahead and power the ASA on real quick and bring him online. So after you go through some of this stuff, it does take a little bit of time to bring it to come online. The router should be there. Okay, so we're just going to type in no, and let me go ahead and get out of the way. And you have ESXi, you have, so how do I connect to an external a server running inside of Eve? I think it's, you have VM SRV 2016. Oh, you want, okay, I see what you're saying. So here on this guy, or at least on my other host, this guy. You're saying you've got this server right here, server 2016. Bring that into Eve. Is that what you're talking about? If that's what you mean, you would do the same thing that I just did over here. So on the topology, I added a management connection, and this connects to the same network as this server right here. Because they're on the same subnet, all I just need to have is an IP address. So I connect them, they're on the same subnet. So I just have them connected that way, or they can be remote subnets as long as you have a pointer to where yeah, exactly. So as long as you can point it to that IP, you'll be able to reach it, is essentially what I'm doing. So yeah, that's basically all I'm doing. Nothing fancy. It's just you need to have network connectivity. I keep it simple. I keep everything in the same subnet. It makes it really, really easy to work with. I don't have to sit there and worry about routing or, anything like that. How much RAM and cores will be required if you want to run SD-WAN, SD-Access? I couldn't tell you on the SD-Access piece because I've never worked with it. I can tell you from the SD-WAN side, when you're running V-edges, I ran 5 V-edges and all the controllers. I was able to get that one going with 16 CPUs and 48 gigs of RAM. Oh my goodness, yeah. So yeah, 16 CPUs and 48 gigs of RAM. So you don't get a node. So boom data, if you're talking about running server 2016 inside of here, I mean, you can also run the server in here as well if you want to, but if you want to get access, you need the management connection. So at least that's how I do it. And maybe there's another way that I'm not aware of, but that's how I know how to do it. What type of appliance is a V-edge? A V-edge. The appliance is a V-edge. Windows Server stuff. I have no idea what you mean by that, Tom. So if you go to, so let's see, hold on a second. So to Muhammad, go check out the first video in the SD-WAN series. It should be in the description for the initial config for the SD-WAN lab. I have that listed there. That's it. That's the Eve topology file. If you want to get the access to the actual config files for like the router and the routers and stuff like that, if you become a member for $10, then I upload everything to. There's a link that you get. You click on that and you get access to everything. And I'm actually going to be adding labs to that here in the very, very near future. So you'll be paying $10 for the initial configs as well as labs that I write, and that'll correlate to the videos you guys watch. Can I use a router to simulate a V-edge? No, you can't use a router to do a V-edge because a V-edge in itself is a V-edge. If you want to run routers, then you can go and run the C-edge, which is a CSR 1000V that's been rewritten to do iOS XE SD-WAN. So main question would be regarding where to get the image files. I got my image files from Cisco's website. I download them because I have a service account and I was able to access them through there. I don't know where else you'd be able to get them. How can you register? Great question. see. One second while I go here and then click join. That's how you can, it might even be a way, I don't know if you can do it inside the live stream, but yeah, go there and then you'll be able to click join. No worries. What you mean by access to everything? I don't know what you're asking. You'll have to be a bit more specific on that. The subscription you were referring to, so yeah, just follow the link I just posted in the chat, and then you'll be able to go and go there. That'll get you to the registration link, so to join, $10 a month, and then you get access to everything I do. And then I upload everything. You'll get access to a drive link, and then you'll be able to download whatever you want. And then if you guys stay subscribed, right, so you keep paying the $10 a month, the cool thing about it is as time goes on, I will be going through and uploading labs. So I'll actually write labs for, and I'll be uploading them. So it'll be like a Google Drive document you'll see pop up. It'll be like SD-WAN Lab X, go do this. Or it might be, I'm actually working on a CCNP Enterprise, so Encore and an RC. I'm working on a course for that as we speak. And I'll be like building labs. I'll be like, okay, go do XYZ on these two devices, and then there will be a video solution for that. So for anybody that wants labs and stuff like that, that's how I'm going to be delivering them. So yeah, good stuff there. Let's see, system administrator stuff for working with the DoD world. The STIG is a checklist of required settings specifics to a server. Oh, okay. I did not know that. That's cool. I'll check that out. Starting to setting for CCAEI. Would you recommend a server or a supercomputer? A server would be more than sufficient, but so it's up to you and how you want to go about doing that. I personally would be, I'd get a server, look at like Intel Xeon processors, 6 or 8 cores, 64 to 128 gigs of RAM would be more than sufficient. Although because SD Access is on the exam, I have no idea how you're going to demonstrate that or lab it up other than going through like Cisco dCloud. But Eve is very base in Cisco. I think you might be saying basic. Maybe, I don't know. You'll have to elaborate on what you mean there by that, Hanan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this firewall set up so that I can use the ASDM to connect into it. So the first thing I'm going to do on the ASA is I'm going to go and give it a hostname ASA7, and I'm going to go to interface management 0/0, give it an IP address. I need to give it an IP address that is on my home network. So I'm going to go ping, so 10.255.130 will work now because, oh, Eve is bad. Okay, Eve is very bad in Cisco. Oh, okay, yeah. So you're referring to running things like ICE and FMC inside of Eve, and I agree with you on that. Sorry, I didn't understand what you meant by that, but yes, I agree. ICE and FMC, if you're going to run those inside of VMware. Download the OVF, deploy them in VMware, and then just provide external connections into them like I have for the ASA here. Do that. That's what I recommend. And FTD, I've actually had pretty good success in Eve, but maybe you have not, and hopefully you can get a maybe a little bit better of a platform to work with, and you'll have better results. Does the vEdge images come with the Cisco CML? Not that I know of. As far as I know, the vEdges are a download from Cisco, and you can't just go through CML. So let me go ahead and make sure that 31 is not being used, and if it's not, I'll use this as my IP address. And that looks pretty good. Should have ARPed by now, and it's not going to come back, so I'll be able to type in 10.255.1.31/24. We'll type in no shut, and then name if is going to be mgmt. And then I'm going to type in host, or I'm going to type in username is going to be Rob, privilege, password is going to be Cisco, privilege level 15. I'm going to type in that the SSH, or we'll type in HTTP will come in from 10.255.0.0/16. Will be allowed to come in through management, and HTTP server enable. I forgot about that. So you have to turn the HTTP server on in order to work. How much is it to get SD-WAN images legally? I have no idea. So I have no idea how that would work. Cisco is not that great when it comes to apps. I agree with you on that one, Edward. I agree with you 100%. So we're going to type in AAA authentication for HTTP. We'll use the console for local access. So now what I should be able to do is, let me set up a route management to 10.255.1.0/24. Sorry, 10.0. I can't condone what you're trying to say there, Radic. I wouldn't know how to do that. Route management is going to be 10.255.10.0/24 to 10.255.1.1. So I should be able to pull this back up. Now that I've grabbed that IP, that guy should respond now, so I can ping the management 0 interface of the ASA. So I'm going to come over here and type in 10.255.1.31. You know what I might have to do is stop that and plug in HTTPS. HTTPS. There we go. We're going to click on Advanced, accept the risk, and boom, we're on the ASDM. ASDM pops up. I'm not going to download it because I already have it running. Or I should say I already have it downloaded, I think. Yes, right here. Let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. This will take a minute or two to bring up. So I'm going to go ahead and let me go bring this over real quick. So I'm going to type in the device IP 10.255.1.31. We'll type in Rob and Cisco. And I'm going to get a prompt. Yep, I want to continue. And we should be able to pull up the ASDM on the ASA, which we can, which is right here. So now I'm on the ASDM. And if I go to the configuration and I go to say interface settings and interfaces, only thing that's configured right now is the management interface. So, and I did that by setting up external access to the ASA. So if I want to control an ASA through the ASDM, that's how I would go through and do it. And so I can manage things through that. And that allows me to provide access in. So pretty cool stuff in that regards. And that's basically how you would build these labs and get them up and running and just do some basic stuff. There are other areas of stuff that you can do. Do you know if I can use WatchGuard? WatchGuard? I don't know, maybe. As far as I know, that is not supported, but I could be wrong. Normally it would be down here at the bottom. On the, if you go to the documentation and go to how-tos, WatchGuard will be in here somewhere. If it's anything that's supported will be on here that I've seen, but I don't see WatchGuard here. Yeah, maybe you can get, if you can get the QCOW2 image, maybe that'll work, but honestly I have no idea. If you go to supported images and QEMU image namings, so if you come down here, doesn't look like it. And then if you have the QCOW2 image, I don't think WatchGuard supported. if they have a QCOW2 image for whatever instance you're trying to work on, maybe that'll kick in and maybe that'll work. But you'd have to play around with it because there's no like direct support, at least on their website. So keep that type of stuff in mind when you're working with it. So, but yeah, that's basically how that comes into play. Do I have any recommendations for Nexus or XR? Anything 9.x in Nexus on the Nexus 9Ks works out really, really well. I've got some experience working with that with VXLAN. And then I've got pretty good XR. I've got some images downloaded for it, but I found XR 9Ks, when you start running those things are just beasts. And they just take up so much resources, it's ridiculous. So, yeah. That might be true with WatchGuard. I don't know. I've only used WatchGuard once, and I had no clue what I was doing. What to do? I don't remember what I had to do. I had to work with it once. I had to go look up the documentation. I had no idea how to work with it. It wasn't very intuitive from what I remember. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if there's any ladies watching, but if there are, I want to give a nod to the ladies. So that's pretty much it in terms of how you would get stuff working inside of Eve and that type of stuff. So beyond that, guys, that's what I wanted to cover in today's live stream. Unless somebody else has a specific question regarding HP, I have no idea. I honestly have no idea with HP. Like I said, you can go check the supported images here. HP VSR apparently is supported, but the thing that you have to remember when it comes to support inside of Eve is that you need a virtual image, number one, and number two, that image needs to be able to run QCOW2 or some very, very QCOW2 is the image, because that's KVM, because you're basically running KVM on Linux. So basically the same thing as running what do you call it, VMDK on ESXi, right? You have the VMDK QCOW2. It's a virtual image. So with that being said, if there's support for it, great. But I mean, I honestly don't know. Any recommendation where to get hosted resources to run labs? Hosted, you mean like Google Cloud Platform or AWS? That I couldn't tell you. I've never. I stay away from stuff like hosted platforms because they cost lots of money and stuff like that. So good stuff. Hey man, I appreciate that, Ali. I really do, man. I really Chichal, you're gonna have to watch the replay, man. We're pretty much done at this point. I've been on for about an hour now. So it was getting Eve set up and working with getting Eve up and running for labs. So that's basically what I wanted to cover. So I think you guys enjoyed this. So I'll probably do more of it. Yeah, you might have some good luck with Eve or with some Google Cloud or AWS, but honestly, the money that you would spend month after month inside of Google Cloud, if you were to figure out what that would cost you over the period of time, you can go out and get a decent sized server. If that works out for you, and go that direction. To me, I'd rather go buy a. Yeah, I had a good stream. You can go buy a physical server and then run it in your home. I mean, that's what I do. I run everything on-prem. Are you familiar with the SD-WAN, that's Comcast? I have no idea. I don't know anything about that. The only one that I know a little bit would be Cisco SD-WAN. I say it a little bit because there's some things that I haven't tested out yet. So hopefully I'll get to test those out in the near future. But I am going down the Microsoft route, and I think next week what I'll do is a live stream on how to get a Windows server up and running, or build a Windows server environment inside of Eve. I think that'd be kind of a cool thing to talk about. Cool, man. I'm glad that hopefully that's working out for you, Janu. I hope I'm saying your name right. I don't like to butcher people's names. But cool, guys. I appreciate everybody coming out and hanging out with me today in the live stream. I will try to do this on a consistent basis on Sunday afternoon. It seems to work out better than Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. Until next time, guys, I definitely do appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out. We'll do it at the same time, 2 o'clock Central Standard Time, for those of you that are maybe abroad. That's what time we're going to do it. You mentioned coming out with MP. Yes, that will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. I'll start releasing that. It'll be like a 1 day a week type thing. So as I get stuff recorded, I'll go through and get that stuff released. It'll be like 1 video a day, or maybe a couple of videos a day, depending on what the topic is. But yeah, that's basically what's going to be coming out. So MPLS traffic engineering, well, that in and of itself is a huge topic. So, but because of the new CCNP service provider material that's out there, I might do some stuff around that. So yeah, good stuff going on there. Yeah, time frame hopefully in the next. I have another week or so of releases to do with Cisco SD-WAN, and then I'm going to start releasing the NP material. I've got a bunch of it recorded. I'm actually going to spend the rest of today going through and or get some other videos recorded. I'm actually learning a bunch about Active Directory, which I knew about that much in Active Directory, and I've learned this much more in the days since then. So I'll be spending quite a bit of time going through that, and then recording some videos on getting the CCNP material done. So cool, guys. Well, hey, I appreciate everybody coming out and hanging out with me in the live stream, and I will see all of you next week, unless something pops up. Plan on being here at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we'll be talking about building stuff out in Windows Server and stuff like that, and working with that. So, alrighty, good stuff. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out, and I will see all of you next week. Stay safe out there, and happy studies. Till next week.